on, Bogdan.
Yeah, we're good to start. So, hello everybody. It's great to be back here. This is my third year in a row, and I'm quite excited with a panel like this because we're going to talk about next-gen payments, and we have pretty much the whole flow: regulator, PSP, e-commerce, as well as two banks, issuers, and acquirers. So it's going to be a very interesting panel, I guess. And we're probably going to go through the same themes like most of the other discussions. And the three main topics when we talk about payments: regulatory, how we deal with cash and how we move towards cash, and obviously technology. And I'll probably start with technology, and I prepared a question here about technology, and I think every panel had to have the word AI. So we'll start with AI. And the question, especially for the banks, is how is AI, machine learning, and all these new technologies reshaping your payment landscape? And what are your strategic steps towards embracing these new technologies? And obviously a few words also from the regulator side, how you see this impacting going forward this field. Wants to start, ladies? Yeah, you have the mic, go ahead.
Shall I start? Okay, so what we can say about AI machine learning? First of all, AI, let's say that before AI we had the machine learning, so AI is just another version of the machine learning and robotics. And if we are talking about this, I can say that that's for sure something which will have quite a big impact on this industry. In fact, we already have seen also in the past by using this machine learning, especially on the anti-fraud part, and in the here, especially here in Romania, but also globally, on the routing mechanism. So PayU is very famous on using different rules for the routing part. With the AI, of course, we are able to, move further to be more precise. For the moment, for example, we have the AI in the anti-fraud solutions, and we are able to really flag in quite quickly and have a very low fraud rate of frauds for our merchants. Of course, the next steps is to use, for example, AI to help merchants, for example, or to work together with merchants in order to suggest for the customer based on their habits, different payment methods. So, or based on their habits, not only to the merchants, but in general for other merchants or to the others websites, if we will be able to reach this level of aggregation, to suggest the payment method, or as we are currently also have, but it's at the early stage, based on the type of errors to suggest another payment method to our customer. Of course, with AI, we are currently looking also to the operational cost optimization. So that's something which I think for the PSP it's a bit better, but I think with the banks that's going to be a very dramatic change, because especially in the operational departments, because AI is really helping and will help people who are able to work with AI. That's what I see for the future. So that's I see the impact of AI. If I will keep it very shortly, and I will pass to my other colleagues from the panel.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Elena. Interesting, because you know how it is, Bogdan. We are in merger right now, so I will not discuss about what Alpha Bank is actually doing right now, because it's doing only merger. But I can tell you one thing, and Elena helped me a lot with the answer. She has done the job, and we are taking a profit out of it. So our merchants are actually really happy that she worked so hard to bring AI on the table, also for us.
Right.
Yes. Firstly, let me present myself. It's the third year I've been here in Oradea. And for me, it's a nice city because I live in Satu Mare, so we are neighbors. So we are visiting very often Oradea, and we like it very, very much. I work in Banca Transylvania from 2004, and transitioning from back office operations to sales, mostly in acquiring parts, covering POS, e-commerce, and quite recent soft POS solutions. And being an area sales manager for the Northwest part for 10 years, and right now being a business development manager on the acquiring part, on the acquiring side, trying to make our products, feature products, more compliant, more approachable to merchants, and to stay above the curve in the market. So regarding the AI and machine learning, I think that AI will enable us, is already enabling us to real-time fraud detection, but also striking a balance between payment security and also, I would say, smooth user experience. Regarding also, if we think about blockchain technology is an evolving field, of course, but we, as an organization, we are aligning to all the regulations of the schemes, Visa and the others, and of course to the EU directives. We are also trying to check and see what these technologies can impact our clients, our merchants, and the market. Also using, I can say that we use internally, as in other organizations, behavioral analytics and some other data types that can enlighten us about what the market wants and what the merchants want.
A better use of data, right?
Yes, yes.
Register. Okay, thank you. Maybe from
Thank you so much. We are very happy to be here, and I'm Ionuț Rodor from National Bank of Romania. I have over 17 years in regulation, authorization of for my first 2 or 5 years in National Bank of Romania was from the authorization of payment institution and electronic money institution, and I know the burden that is to step from the technical point of view to the regulatory point of view. This is the main burden. I know it, and we try to be. The fact that we are here means that we are open to cooperate, to discussion, and I heard that AI technology, machine learning, and everything, it is used for payment monitoring, for fraud tools in order to prevent them, and we are happy to see this. We hear that our 4 panelists say something about that the overburden of the regulatory framework. Indeed, it is on the one side, but on the other side, we have to see the challenges that, and also the opportunities for TPPs, for example, for open banking, in order to have business models that never before had happened before the PSD2, for example, and the forthcoming PSD3. Indeed, the burden, it is also on the traditional side, we understand it, but the digitalization process is open, it's here, and we all have to deal with it. On the other side, we see that AI Act, and etc., from the regulatory perspective, this is a very huge thing. We also use AI tools, we also use machine learning and different subtech technologies in order to have the monitoring tools, because it is impossible, for example, to monitor the KPIs of the open banking. It is impossible to do it by yourself. You need different tools, and indeed AI and machine learning and all the other tools that are used by fintechs and also by traditional payment service providers and financial service providers. It is here, and we had to deal in a cooperation environment. because we are, after all, partners in order to preserve the interest of the consumers and all the other parties in the financial chain. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, you mentioned open banking, so it's a very smooth transition to the next question, which relates to open banking, how this affected all the payment world. And now we're facing with PSD 3. So I'll start with you. I'll pass back the mic, and maybe you can share with us your view as a regulator with respect to this new regulatory structure.
Yes, it is a big issue, a big topic, PSD3 and PSR. Indeed, there are some challenges, there are some new pillars, but we also keep the perspective in order to have those two balance between supporting innovation on the other side in order to preserve security, because I think the PSD3 and the PSR especially will try to share the burden of losses, because we have to touch this point of scandemic or potential scandemic, because those are the facts. Of course, ultimately we had to find the right and adequate tool in order to share this burden. We have better and improved strong customer authentication measures that will not be sufficient anymore in order to say that transaction will be authorized. I think this is one of the first things, because we see from the EBA last year report on fraud that from the credit transfer especially, over 90% of the losses were supported by the payment service users, and we had to rebalance this. And of course, on the other side, whatever the measures, the measures that will be the professional, the payment service provider, whether they are banks or different other payment service providers, whatever are the measures, the security measures are in place. Of course, the ultimate access is from the user side. That on the gross negligence, of course, this is another main topic that will be treated by the payments PSR. We'll also have some specific cases then the payment service user is under the gross negligence, and afterwards the burden of payment will be supported by these payment service users. On the other thing, we also have a very important thing of sharing of the information between the payment service providers, between the different actors that are in this payment chain. We are happy that we have here processors, we have traditional banks, we have innovative banks, we have all the fintechs that are in the room, and we think all of them will try to support this through this sharing mechanism. Another thing that will be very important, because we have now different fraud scenarios that the money will came to the payments service providers of the payee, and once you report this fraud, there is not a blockage of the amount. And this, the European Union, all the parties that are involved in this regulatory chain will try to bring some more clarity, to bring some more instruments and tools in order to preserve the interest. Of course, on the other side, on the burden that will be supported afterwards by the payment service providers and also from the payment service user side, in order to have a right balance between the user experience and from the security measures. Thank you.
Okay, so I will speak about the open banking first from the payment provider perspective, supporting merchants, and I can say that at least here in Romania, I'm not talking about some other countries where they are more advanced than we are, that we are at the beginning, and I still see a lot of challenges from the user experience perspective. That's going to be a challenge, at least at the first transactions, to convince the user to provide the access to the bank account. That's gonna, I've seen the reactions from some colleagues who are, working in this industry like for at least 20 years, like in PayU. And we will need to find together with the others provider, open banking provider solutions in order to make it very seamless, to make it, secure and to build trust, convince the user that at least with PayU that still there is security, there is data privacy. That's very, very important, I think, from this perspective. And if we are talking about PSD3, which is also addressing topics like investment, insurances, so access to more data, I think it's a long way to this, because for the moment we need to make sure that we are enabling payments to the merchants. We are convincing, payers to use open banking, for example, as alternative payment method, and not only open banking, if you are asking me, because we know, at least for e-commerce, we have cash on delivery payment, 63%. And at the same time, we know that withdrawal from the ATMs is around 50 billion euros. So I think this is the main part which needs to be addressed at the moment. Open banking, let's say that it's addressing something, it's helping us merchants to reduce a bit the cost for some use cases, if you are asking me, because merchants are also looking for the conversions. So probably open banking will address costs like for business card, and then will convince users who are not, currently convinced to pay with cards. So I think that's the stage, in fact, of open banking so far for Romania. I'm not talking for the other countries where the things are quite different.
I'm glad you touched this point of cash, because it was also on the list, and we don't have much time, but I wanted to link it a little bit with the cash usage. And the two of us were talking last night about this huge amount of cash on delivery as means of payment still. We at Blick, this is one of our missions to convert as much of these transactions in cash through a seamless user experience into digital payments. And we do believe that this kind of technologies were going to help. And I was wondering where the traditional banks stand in this direction, and where do they see this trend going? I mean, 63% cash on delivery for e-commerce is huge. 50 billion ATM withdrawals overall in a year, it's too much, I think.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised to find that we got lucky in a time of year when we were altogether unhappy, and that was COVID. Because since then, well, the point is that the customers went mainly online, and they forgot about the cash on delivery because they were not allowed to use that much cash anymore. So it's not a right or a wrong answer to your question. It's just looking back in the past, 30 years ago, we were still using ZipZap. 60 years ago, we were inventing the card. And look at us, way far from that period. And everyone is not using cash that much. I mean, we had discussion here, and no one has the physical card. So, yeah, exactly. This is our loop, maybe, you're right. This can be our loop, but at the same time, I guess that we can look at the cash now that the percentage is kind of different than it was before. If you were asking me this 5 years ago, I would have told you that 60% of the transactions are in cash, and only 40% maybe are with card or in online. But now the figures has changed, so I think that's a good thing.
COVID helped, but the trend reversed after COVID. So once the doors were open, the run for cash started again. People
we didn't felt it that way. We didn't felt it that way.
That's good.
And I'm sure that it's the same for you guys.
So I will respond on the two questions that you asked. The first one, shortly, because we don't have time, I know. Shortly, regarding the next phase of PSD and PCR, The PSD3, from my opinion, from the perspective of a bank which allows and creates APIs to allow access to their accounts, to their users' accounts, to their customers' accounts. I think that here it's about data accessibility, as my colleagues also said, but also it's a burden, it's a kind of hard for providers, for developers to build apps that needs to respect stricter regulations. But I think that this can be done, separating user interface, the front end, keeping a smoother experience for the user, for less frictionless, but also in the back end, maintaining the regulatory part, management of consent, and separate them, and so the user will don't feel this too many friction, if I can say like that. So regarding the countries that rely on cash, Romania, as you said, has a big percent here. I think that in this equation, soft POS solutions that are enabling small merchants to easily use card acceptance through the big schemes, I think this should enable small merchants to use their devices as a POS. And also, I think a bridge between a public sector and private sector will increase the use of digital payments and card payments, of course. That's my opinion.
Good. On that, I'd like to thank you all. I wish we had a bit more time, but I hope to see you again next year here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being.
Thank you very much.